Hello, this is Mrs. Neubauer, and let's work on our penmanship. So, what did the envelope say to the stamp? Stick with me and we will go places. Okay, so our lesson goal today for number 26 is to learn how to write on line paper. So finally we're to the line paper on our advanced lesson, working towards the end. We just have a few left. Remember, the wide ruled paper is the paper you buy at the store. There's a college ruled, which is even narrower, so definitely try this. There's even paper that's a little bit bigger if you need it. If this is too hard yet, you can buy other paper. So that was our goal for the class, so that's what the goal today is. So when you work on line paper, you're going to write on the right of that line, and that's what we're going to do today on my worksheet. So to get started, let's see. Basically, you're going to be writing, and just like we have kind of a space before we have our ceiling in most, houses and businesses, the same thing with your paper. You're going to pretend there's kind of like this space, and then that would be the ceiling, the top line. So we don't have those spaces in between anymore, so we kind of have to make our own spaces. So you're not going to actually write from the top to the bottom line, because then you wouldn't be able to read it very well on your paper. So you kind of have to pretend there's an imaginary dashed line, kind of like that ceiling height that we kind of have in our houses. So we can see with ask, you're starting the same thing. Once you establish that first word, and you have to remember the halfway point isn't to the top this time, it's to this point. And that's okay if it gets a little bigger and smaller. That's kind of people's style for handwriting too. Once you get that first letter established, remember you look to the left to do your next letter. Remember that's double, so you leave a little space at the top. You don't want to hit your head on that ceiling. Remember that's going to be our ceiling, and all the way down. And then the next part of the K goes back to your A and your S there. Okay, same thing for by. Can't go all the way to the top of that ceiling. I'm going to establish that middle part. When you do your U's looking at your B, and when you do your Y's looking at your U. And cut. Same thing for cut. Once you get that established, you can do your O. Remember T leaves almost double that space. And then go back and cross your T. Okay, so let's practice. We're going to practice on my worksheets, and then hopefully you have some wide ruled paper to practice on too. All right, we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully you have printed off number 26A, 26B. So this time we're not doing our medium, we're working right to the small paper practice and also our wide ruled paper. And just in case I forget, because we're going to be working through our sheets, you could use this sheet. You could print off a few of these to write with if you ever need some. And then the second sheet, the wide ruled paper, you would just use the actual paper. So if you're not at the level to write smaller right now, this would be great paper to continue to practice on. And just wanted to let you know, just because I might forget at the end. I get so excited about writing letters, I forget what I'm going to say. So, all right, so hopefully you're all warmed up, ready to go. Okay, so back to our three-letter words. We're going to write ask, so we'll do the uppercase and the lowercase. So remember, you have that little bit of a space between the ceiling and that top line. So no more space in between. We're just going line to line to line to line, and it'll look a little different. And you might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you're going to get used to it and practice, 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 right? Okay, so you can trace over mine first. If you think you're done tracing, you think you got those letters down, you can just start writing it right away. So we'll do capital ask first. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space and then start my uppercase. So then when I look to my letters, this will be my top. Now, I don't have a middle on my A, so when I do my S, I'm going to kind of estimate where I think the middle is and then come down. My K goes all the way up to the top where that top of your A is. Leave some space. And my K kind of goes a little bit underneath where my S is. And that was kind of an advanced word to start right off with. Okay, and the same thing for lowercase. If you want to write that, just kind of work through different words together. We don't have to do them all. Different words. Let's see. We'll try. Actually, you know what? It's nice to see them all next to each other. So like I said before with your the practice is you have this like little white space in between, and your eye likes that. You don't want to have like it's a lot here with all these lowercase and uppercase letters, and they're coming down. Gets a little much. So just to show you what I mean, if we didn't have space, say we did ask, and then we wrote our box, so they would be definitely touching, and it's harder to see. So you don't want to just write top to bottom. Let's see, let's do elf. So elf comes up, touches, comes down. So the words are kind of all connecting. And then say we do fab. So it just doesn't look as good. And then unfortunately when you write those descenders on your F, G, and P, they get all mixed up. So that's what I mean where we don't want to go top to bottom like we've been doing. We want to make sure we have that nice space in between. So hopefully you can see the difference. Definitely more readable. Definitely more readable. Okay, so please don't do that. That was just a little practice to show you. So let's do the left-hand side. Okay, so you can see sometimes you're going to, like the J and the K, sometimes they do overlap, and that's okay. Not all the time. Sometimes you do have to share your space. Some people just do a smaller ascender on the J, so let's actually practice that. Some overlapping, that sounds good one to do. So we'll do our jab, so we'll do, let's just do the lowercase j. So I got my about midpoint, and I'm gonna go down, just do a little ascender. Okay, so the top of my A, I look back at the J, and I have to go all the way, and remember that ceiling on the B, not all the way to the top. Good. In the middle of the B, I look back at my A. All right, jab, and then say you have to start your letter underneath. That's okay. You can, some people, they do overlap, or you know how we have that curve on the K, you could just have a straight line instead, and then it wouldn't overlap as much. It's up to you. You might have to modify your letter. Okay, we have a middle of our K, so I'm going to do my I there. My T, I look back at my I and go a little bit up, cross my T, dot my I. So sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't, and that's just part of writing. Okay, got lots of letters today. So the 26A goes all the way through Z. And then 26B, remember, is our wide rule. So this paper will be the same as our wide rule paper. And this time, if you're ready for it, remember we have our ceiling. Got to have some space. As you go, you can see there's a little ceiling. We got the ceiling. And we got lots of space. Nobody's going to hit their head on the ceilings for our letters. So you're going to work through the wide rules, all the different, we have vegetables this time. Lots of different vegetables to write with, and we have some more on the second page. Unfortunately, they didn't all fit. Then, when you're done with that, you can hopefully have some paper. Otherwise, you might have to make it to the store. Everybody sells wild rule paper at the pharmacies and the grocery stores and the regular department stores, depending on what you have in your area. I don't know if the gas stations have it, but you never know. Let me know. Okay, so if you've practiced on this, this would be another advance, would be to try to write on your wide rule paper. So remember, we start on the right of the red line, and I'm going to write avocado. Start with avocado. So I'm going to go a little bit above, a little bit below the midpoint, and then my V, I'm going to look at my A. My O, I'm going to look at my V. My C, I'm going to look at my O. Oh, this is a good one to practice first. My A. They're all the same style, almost all the same family. Our circle family. Okay. And then remember, can't touch the ceiling with your top of your D. Go a little bit down to that and your O. And then I'll try broccoli. So once you get that done, remember, leave a little space like we practiced with our sentences and word spacing. I've got my broccoli. All right, R comes a little bit up. We have our O with our R, our C with our O, a C with the C, O with the C, our L. Don't touch the snailing, a little bit of space, and I comes up to the middle and dot your I. Okay, and you can work on the next word, cauliflower. I think that's the longest word. Holy cow, cauliflower. Let's write cauliflower and we'll be done. Leave a little space. We got cauliflower. C. Okay, my A looks at my C. My U looks at my A. All right, my L doesn't go all the way to the top, but leave a little space. Got my I. All right, my F goes the same as the L, so I'm going to look back at my L that time. And my next L looks back at my F. All right, my O has to look all the way back to my I to see where that middle is again, and then I'm good. I got my W to my O, my E to my W, and my R to my E. Okay, and then the same thing with wide rule papers. You don't want to write all the way to the end. You want to have a little bit of margin. And depending on your next, like we're going to do daikon, it wouldn't fit here. So we'd have to go back to the beginning if we're going to write the next letter. So, and remember that ceiling, leave some space. Don't want the letters to hit their head on the ceiling. All right, my K goes all the way up. Look back at my I. O looks back at that K. And my N looks back at my O. So another advanced lesson. Hopefully it's getting a little bit easier to write with that center line and now to add some space and not right to the top line. Okay, so this goal is another goal that might take a few days. Lots of practicing, lots of words. We have, we have the small lines and we have the wide rule, and then we have the actual wide rule paper. If you don't want to practice just, my ABC lists, you could practice writing a letter to a family or a friend, letting them know you can write in cursive. And like this is an example of my cursive. I think they'd really like to see that and the accomplishment you made. So we have a few more advanced lessons. We're almost done with our C is for cursive class. Okay, I'll see you next time.